Good morning, everybody. It is Lisa, Colin, Stephanie, getting ready to start our Q&A session for Canvas Intermediate. Just saying good morning, everybody. Go ahead and take a minute and look in the chat at the bottom or right or left, depending on how you have it set up, and look for the attendance form link that I've put up there. And we'll gradually put that link up there throughout the chat as we go through Q&A today. So we're going to start today on our intermediate homepage. And we're going to open it up for questions. So as you're formulating your questions in the chat feature there, we'll go through some basic housekeeping. So remember that this Q&A is recorded, so you'll be able to find that link later on in the announcements on the left. Remember that this course is self-paced. Don't stress out, take it one day at a time as you go through module or assignments. Just keep in mind that self-paced means you have until August 15th to complete the coursework in order for you to complete the course in its entirety. Once you get down to the staff evaluation form, you'll then complete that form. Once it is submitted, it will move to the certificate of completion. And then once that generates, it will then produce for you a Canvas badge for intermediate. So congratulations, everybody. Once that's done, do not forget, if you choose to get a CEU credit for this course, that you will need to either email or print out and send in to program services, or staff development with Myra Warwicks to be able to issue your 1.0 CEU credit. So let's see in the Q&A, let's see if we have any questions down below. If you've signed in to do your attendance already, then you are all good to go, so you do not need to redo it. We opened up that announcement as of 9 this morning, so you had time to do it. Let's see what kind of questions that we have. Okay, so can our test student receive badges? Mine did not receive the badge after completing all the requirements. Badges have to be built and created in Badger and then assigned to the course. So Ms. Linda, you may have to email us directly, and we may need to just work one-on-one to see exactly what has happened. Okay, Miss Alicia Tyler, it says you're asking about, I noticed that for each module, it says we have to complete on each item. Are we required to complete one or all assignments in each module? The answer is yes. So based on how the course is coming in, based on the teacher, we have set what is called prerequisites and requirements. So as you build a module and then you start putting assignments inside it, you have to make a decision on how you want to take care of that course and what you want your students to complete before they start to the next module. So for instance, the way we chose to handle the different modules is that we wanted you to go in a certain order because we didn't want you to jump around, and we wanted you to do module by module because it builds upon each one next. So as you build your own by creating your manually created course, you'll be able to make those decisions. For some of you that may be getting stumped on the videos that are there, you not only have to watch the video, but then you have to submit a text entry. And it's just a simple, great video, video's too small, whatever it is, so that you get the submit button to submit your request in, so that you can then move to the next assignment. And we know that some people are having that concern. So when we're here on this, for instance, this particular assignment, everyone jumps to that link right there to launch the actual video and watch it, but then we forget that we actually have to do something there in the sense of the text entry. And then once you put in your text entry, your response, then you need to click the submit button. See where it says submit assignment? That submit assignment is extremely important because then that's going to give you the unlocking area necessity for it to move you to the next assignment, or the fact that it would then move you to the next module. The way you know that it's been submitted, on the top right, it says the word submitted. It gives you submission details, but also that visual, that blue button says resubmit assignment. So it tells you that you've already submitted something. So Miss Alicia, I hope that answers that question for you. Miss Chang, yes, you definitely can use any YouTube video as long as it has been approved by PSRC's YouTube, because it's pre-K through 12 specified for education. If in fact a YouTube video is not approved, meaning your kids cannot see it when you put it there, you can send the URL link to Stephanie Cole or myself, and we can go ahead and approve the button, or approve the video, excuse me.
Lisa, my internet went out, so I had to switch over. Sorry, I missed some of it at the beginning. So are we down to Dawn with
Yes.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So Miss Dawn, what do you mean you're having a hard time following the quiz? There are options for a regular quiz, and then there's quizzes. Technically, you could do two things. You can either create a quiz if you're doing from basic, or you can go over to quizzes on the left-hand side and actually transition and build your quiz from there. So I'm not sure what part was difficult for you. If you could just explain a little bit more.
Terry Atkinson asked a great question. Cole, you may be able to answer a lot more efficiently. Do we need to give credit to other sites?
You should always try to follow, of course, copyright and intellectual property laws anytime you're doing anything, especially online. Even though Canvas, the way that we're using it right now, is kind of a walled garden, is what they refer it to, just like with Google Classroom. Your courses, you can't see it unless you're invited to the course. So obviously your students that are enrolled, and as your parents come on as observers, of course they would be able to see course content inside of your courses. But of course we should always try to respect copyright laws, intellectual property laws, anything that you are using that belongs to someone else. If you're going to use it, yes, it would be nice, to give the credit where credit is due. And just be respectful of that. In years past, we usually have several instances a year when teachers had classroom web pages to where they would upload or post content that, of course, was in violation of certain laws, and we would get DMCA notices, so Digital Millennium Copyright Act notices, to where the publisher found our content and basically sends us a notice that we have to remove it and take it down. And if we don't do that in a timely manner, they have every right to pursue legal options against us. With the transition that has taken place, moving forward, teachers are not going to have public classroom web pages on our website. That is gone now as we've made this transition to our new web host. And of course, all teachers are going to transition to using either Google Classroom or the Canvas Learning Management System as your new main way to communicate with your students and your parents via electronic means of the homepage. That is basically your new teacher website, is these environments. But always make sure that you're just abiding by proper laws and go that way.
So your UID number is that 10-digit number that you sign into Rapid Identity. The other number is a part of payroll that you're using, the eSolutions number. That's usually around a 5-digit number. We're asking for the UID, which is your 10-digit number that you sign into Rapid Identity.
Ms. Chang, your YouTube video being approved or not approved, you're going to be able to see when you're logged into your school email account, you'll be able to see a blue bar underneath the YouTube video, and it will say approve or remove. Currently, as long as it is tagged pre-K through 12 or education, it will be approved. But if you have concerns based on your videos, you are more than welcome to send an email with all your links on it, and we can go ahead and approve them for your music/band. These are all great questions, everybody. There is a question here about having struggles with quizzes and incorporating the question bank into the quiz. Mr. Gregory, can you give us a little bit of more information? So are you building a quiz from scratch? Are you adding a quiz or a Google form that you already previously have done? Are you building a question bank so later on you can add questions per quiz? So many questions, and that might be better as an email to specifically answer the questions, but if it's something that we can demonstrate for others to use, then just let us know in the chat feature. Great questions, everybody. Miss Saylor, everyone is going to be using the NCED Cloud Rapid Identity IAM. Cole, Stephanie, and I are going to start utilizing the word NCED Cloud as the key acronym that we're going to use. They're going to use their Power School number and their password to get into NCED Cloud, where they access Canvas and Schoolnet. For some of the youngers, they might have used iStation in that area and so forth. Miss Saylor is a high school teacher, so she was asking about how to access Canvas. So just like you access Canvas through going through NCED Cloud, your students go through the same way. Wonderful, Mr. Gregory, that everything has been resolved. Sometimes email is a very great tool in order to get the details and specifics that you're trying to ask when asking some questions.
Miss Christine, you should be able to link any button on your homepage directly to a module. That would be where you would have to edit your page, your homepage, where your button is. And then go search for it underneath on the right-hand side. You would have to highlight the button. So Cole, if we're going to edit, so scroll down. If there was a button that we wanted to link, we would highlight that button. Over on your right-hand side, there is an area for modules. You would click that drop down. For modules. And then you can link your module here. If it's not already named, you would need to go ahead and name your module first, and then it should appear in this area for your module. And then all you do is select it, it goes yellow, and then it'll go back blue, and you're able to save it, and that should link.
Ms. Chang, I put in the chat for you to understand, teacher websites are really just honestly going away. And so inside Canvas, your students, once Power School goes up, will have a card view just like you do with your courses. They will have a card for your course. So for you particularly, you do band, so you'll have, based on sections in Power School, you will also have as many cards as your students would based on what their courses are. Now, when we go into our intermediate and we go to the homepage or the landing page, you can make that, if you would like, your teacher landing page for the course. Remember, you also have underneath those lockers in your manually created course, you have the button called About Teacher. So you can make that button your teacher website landing page, so to say. Keep that in mind as well. If you want to make a button that has parent information on there, you sure can. There's that About Teacher tab right there. Keep this also in mind. Your parents will be able to have an observer, a pair observer role. There are apps that are for parent, student, and teacher, which is going to be coming up in our communication tools course coming up later.
Once
Go
you've
ahead.
once you've downloaded the template and you go to pages, you'll notice when you click View All Pages up here at the top, there are tons of different information in here. There's a lot of stuff. Like you see, there are various templates. Like we've only showed you the main homepage because, again, we're just using this as something to lead training with and to give you something to work with. But if you'll look, there are pre-created homepages for English, for math, for music. Since we're kind of talking about music, click that. And look, here you go. It's basically just has an image header that's more appropriate for what you're teaching. When we go back here, you'll find some other examples, like let's look at the math one. So again, that's the main example of these different home pages. It's just the main image is a little different. So let's go back to View All Pages. So there is some other stuff, like here's a physical education one. And again, that's going to be the main difference on the home pages at least, but there are other pages built in here that you can leverage. Like here's a Module 1 video example. So this is basically a template that you could use. So this would be a Module 1 video. So you can put in, a link to the video here, embed the video, descriptive text, describe what it is, tell them if there's something they need to keep in mind to make sure they understand or they follow while they're watching it. Again, watch and learn is what they're using to label this. Links for other resources that might be helpful for the student as you're asking them to complete whatever the assignment is. There are tons of unexplored pages inside this template. We're kind of doing a very quick preview or summary of this. But as you go in here and explore, you're going to see a lot more in the background. Like here's just another better example of a page that has a presentation, where you could put in something. They've embedded another YouTube video. And most of this is just formatting examples that give you a good idea of how it could look. And of course, when you go into edit mode, all you have to do in here is just change out this text and create it so that it's what you need. And of course, you can copy these pages if you're worrying about oh, I'm going to mess it up and never be able to fix it and use it again. Well, just duplicate it. Use your 3 dots on the right hand side, duplicate a page before you ever start editing it, and then you'll always have a perfect copy that you can go back to if you say, oh, I've messed it up and I can't fix it. So there are tons of unexplored stuff, so always keep that in mind. That template is a very powerful template. That's why we have it for you. This is a great one for like weekly updates for your parents here, again, as we get them involved. So this is something that you would, share and post possibly on a weekly basis, and how they could help at home. That might be great because, we're more than likely going to be doing some remote learning this year. So please just explore all these pages. I'm thinking you're going to find a lot of great content in here that you can certainly leverage and use that will help you out. Because as we know with editing any web page, formatting is half the battle. How do I get it to look the way I want it to look? And you can spend a lot of time doing that. This just has a lot of stuff that's pre-created that you could hopefully very quickly use to resolve those problems.
Mr. Lonnie McRaven, I hope I said that right. You are always welcome to get templates from Canvas in the Commons area. You are more than welcome to outfit your course any way you choose to. But if I was you, I would just make a manually created course and then import a template from Canvas to see if you like it. That's just my suggestion. These are all great questions, everybody.
I'm not sure if you addressed it, yes, Lisa, but yes, once PowerSchool comes on back in line, they will populate your courses and load your students for you.
Okay.
You use these templates to create like what your master course may look like, and then you can copy this templated course into your real PowerSchool courses, and then you always have access to this course. If you built everything inside of a PowerSchool course that comes from PowerSchool, that course is eventually going to get locked and archived, and it's going to be much harder for you to do stuff inside of it. So that's why, again, we always prefer that you create a manually created course and use that as kind of your master template for your class.
At Keisha Parker asking about the pair observer. Okay. So you as a teacher can give the individual student their pair observer number. Really useful for open house when we're face to face because that's just easy handing people information. We're working with Canvas and PowerSchool to be able to do things in bulk form. So what I mean by that is parent portal, there is what's called an access ID. So the parent can see the students and your grade book and what grades are coming in and out. The pair observer works very similar and the same, where as we give our students their access ID, we should be able to give that parent, that pair observer, I'm going to say series of numbers and letters so that they can utilize that as well. And so the communication tools course is going to go through those items. So that should help, that should be able to help. Miss Charlotte Lowry, yes, you can copy. I'm going to use your words for just a second. Yes, you can copy an individual module and bring it over to your different courses. It can be done. Some, depending on what you want to do, you can do modules, you can do specific assignments. We'll have more coming through that way as we get closer to school, because some of it is a little on the persnickety side because you really don't have students and such. So these courses this summer were really geared towards getting you comfortable with digital learning and teaching, or teaching and learning, to really get you comfortable about building material for your students to do. As we get closer to the school year, we'll have more stuff about how to link it to your Power Teacher gradebook and so forth. So yes, you can copy modules. Yes, you can copy assignments. It's coming. We just didn't want to overwhelm everybody all at one time either. So I hope that answers you, Ms. Charlotte. But if you want more detail, more discussion about it, feel free and email us and we will be more than happy to answer you as well.
Cole, let's go over to quizzes for a second. We're going to go over and click quizzes over on the left-hand side. No, over on the left. Okay, I'm sorry. So up at the top, you're going to see where you have the option to create your quiz there. You're going to click that plus sign, which is then going to add a quiz up in the upper right-hand corner. For those of you who are fairly new to Canvas, there were two options. Eventually, the classic quiz is going to go away. We would suggest that you actually go into new quizzes, and at the bottom you can always remember my choice for this course, but we would suggest you do new quizzes. You're going to click submit, which is technically going to create that quiz for you. Okay, once you get here, you're going to have to give your assignment a name. So we're just going to do demo. You would decide the points that you want to give that quiz. Well, you would decide of the group that you're going to assign this quiz to. That would be based upon your grade book. So that would technically come from categories from your Power School grade book. Decide how you want it displayed. This is technically assigning either an assignment or a quiz itself. So this is pretty much the same way throughout the whole platform of Canvas. You decide whether you want it to count towards the final grade or not. It's technically going to go ahead and build it as an external tool, which means your students should be able to go in and find it based on a link, okay? When you go there, you're going to decide who you want, if you want it to go to Power School, of course, who you're going to assign it to. You need to give it a due date. And Cole, I think we'll have to put a due date in order for some things to populate. And click, there should be a save button. I don't think you have to do all that. And once you click save, you should come to your page that's going to show you your assessment itself. It should say demo. I'm having to give it a second to load. All right, at this point, you have the capability of giving your students some instructions, which I would always, or we would always advise you to give them instructions. So inside of that area, you always have your pencil where you technically can go in and edit any point that you want to. We'll come back to item banks in a second. But go ahead and give them some type of direction. Please complete the quiz. The plus sign at the bottom would be for the rich text editor if you wanted to use that for your adding your directions. Okay, up at the top, you have your settings tab. Go over to the top, Cole, where it says settings. Top beside the word build. There we go. So here's where you would determine how you want your layout for your quiz to be, whether you wanted it to shuffle questions, shuffle answers, if you want to require an access code for your students, if you want to set a time limit, allow a calculator, say it was a math assessment, and you can restrict them or allow them to see their results, or how many attempts do you want them to actually be able to actually attempt on the test. So once that's set up the way you like it, let's go back to build. Beside of the word build, you have your item banks. This is where you will put your items in. The other tab that you have there is outcomes. That is something that we have to talk to you about when school begins, because what happens is we will push out outcomes. Technically, that means the standard course of study can be correlated and pushed to your course. We would do that at the district level. As far as loading them, you would have to push them to your course. So some information regarding outcomes will be forthcoming for you guys. But your item banks are there. So technically what you would do at this point is click on item banks. This is where you would host your particular questions that you have and build those based on the type of questions that you have. So that item bank would be related. You would click that plus sign, you would name it. Just do demo, Cole. Demo bank or something like that. Okay, so at this point, you should be able to click inside of the bank, the title of it. Okay, this is where there should be a section over on, I can't see your whole screen, Cole. That's why I'm having to stop. There should be an area inside of there that eventually populates where you can add. Also inside of, X out of that, this is where you can host items if you technically need to build them.
This
Did
is
you
the
X
full.
out?
I did. It's a few seconds
Okay,
behind on the.
it's not come in yet. So your plus sign at the bottom, if you'll select that. You see your blue circle with the plus sign?
There's probably a good 5-second
I
delay.
know, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I'm working faster than that. So at this point, this is where you can go in and start building your content, which would then you would have the capability of going in and technically clicking on the type of question that you want, building your question, and then putting that inside of that assessment or inside of a bank that you technically want to create. But that's pretty much it as far as building the assessment inside of quizzes. We can send you some additional information if you need it in these areas. And they are constantly changing stuff inside of the platform. So sometimes stuff, by the time you see it, or it's changed from a green button to a red button. So things you'll just have to bear with, and just know that we're giving you the most updated information as quickly as we can. So I hope that helped everybody. If you have any more additional questions about quizzes, if you can just email us, we'll try to help you individually with what you're having issues with.
I know a few people were asking about unlocking assignments to the next one. I just wanted to reiterate again that sometimes when you go into your module and we all get click happy and jumping into that video, and we forget that part of the assignment is the text editor that you need to submit. It will then give you that next assignment with the next button at the bottom. But if you're continually still having an issue with it saying unlocked, please go ahead and email us and we'll try to walk you through, or at least we can check behind to see if there's something glitchy going on. But ultimately, If the system is saying that it is locked, then you have forgotten to submit something inside that module. The modules are built purposely like that so that you don't miss out on any of the great information.
And one of the other things that we wanted to discuss about that part, some of the feedback is saying how it can be improved is not having to respond to everything. Okay, well, technically, Canvas does record your activity. Thus, it shows how much time you've spent inside of modules. With that being said, we have to show, as far as our documentation, that you are working through this and that you are completing the course, because one CEU credit is actually 10 hours of work. So with that being said, we on our side have to have documentation that you are going through the course, you are participating in the course, and you're actually, responding back with feedback, because otherwise, how will we even know that you watched the video? And that is just our documentation. So if someone comes back and says, okay, show us where they work to receive that 10 hours of credit that you're getting, because technically, guys, if a teacher signed up for these this summer, they have all their technology credits for a 5-year renewal, just by completing these courses. So that's the reason why we actually have you to respond and actually provide some type of feedback on every part of the module inside of those courses. And I hope that makes sense. Ms. Carpenter, do you mean where you're having them to work in the module and they submit their work, like the requirements and prerequisites of the module? Is that what you're asking?
I think that's what she's asking. I'm pulling it up now.
Okay.
So you would use your 3 dots on the right-hand side and go to Edit, and this is where you can set the requirements, that they must complete all the requirements or they must complete one of the requirements. And we say, okay, for this video, you must submit the assignment, and it's just a text entry, so a comment. But you can keep adding as many requirements as you need. And they can either view the item, mark it as done, contribute to the page would be like if it's a discussion, submit the assignment.
Can you leave student view, because that's what I have on my page.
Yep. I'm not in student view anymore. I'm in the full-fledged teacher view.
It's slow.
Yeah. You must be a little bit behind, I think, the rest of the live stream, because I have a live stream open and it's not that far behind, but it should be coming up.
I don't know what the issue is, but that's technology for you, I guess.
Yeah. So I think that answered that question, but that's how you can do it.
Let's stay in requirements a second. I really want to explain this part, because sometimes this is technically hard to understand. Ms. Carpenter, when you see students must complete our requirements, that just gives you an option to go in, and if you select that part, then it gives you the option, okay, then they must complete it in sequential order, okay? So technically, that's not as narrowing it down or pinpointing it as the second part of the requirement, where it is asking you, is saying that they have to meet all the requirements, and then you list it. So technically, what we probably required for that first module for you guys, where it says complete one item, is we selected the assignment that you we wanted you to complete, and then we went in and said, okay, what do you want your students to be able to do? And as that drop down, you want to make sure, beside of the requirements, you want to make sure that they are just not looking at the item. So if I wanted them to actually respond to that video, on the right-hand side, I would click the drop down and it would say, do they just view the item? Do they contribute to the page? If you want them to submit something, that's where you will click that drop down and add that as a requirement.
And some of these pop-up menus, I think, are not showing up, and that might be some of the confusion, I think, with the way the screen capture works.
Ms. Carpenter says that she understands through the chat feature here. She said, "Ooh, thanks so much." So I think she has a better grasp on it.
Well, we wanted to make sure everybody understood that because that is really important when you're trying, because they can slip by if you don't have that specific thing. And I know how Carpenter is because she taught my child for 2 years. So she wants it right. And you know, if you just put for them to contribute to the page or view the page, all they got to do is look at it and they've met the requirement. But if they got to put something on it, that's a totally different story. It's not going to let them go anywhere else until they're done.
And you can also use the lock by date feature as well if you don't want some, star student, that's a month ahead of everyone else. If you want them to try to pace themselves, you can lock certain modules or certain assignments until a certain date. So that once they get to that point, they have to wait before they move forward. So you don't have, let's say we come back and we're doing remote learning in the fall, and if you don't want a student to skyrocket through your entire course and be done, way ahead of everyone else, that's certainly a handy feature that you might want to leverage. Because if you just use prerequisites, if they complete everything in order, they could potentially be done a lot quicker than maybe the rest of your students. So it's just something to think about.
Is there any more questions for today's Q&A session? Get those last little bit of questions in the chat feature so we can answer them. Don't forget to make sure that you have your attendance form completed today. I'm going to go ahead and put that link right in there again for you so that we have an up-to-date form.
Mr. Dallas, that printout is more toward the possible classic. So we'll go in and try to update some things and add the new quizzes in for you. Provide some information inside of that module. And just remember, guys, just because you've completed the course, you can technically go in. We're going to leave these courses open. And we may decide to add some more things inside of there. They would technically, they should show as, we'll try to do new in the front of it if we add some things inside of there. Because there's no sense in actually making new courses for new material. That's why you'll find some of the documentation that we've linked to go to Canvas, because you have to remember stuff changes so quickly that what happens is the links will stay live. So when they update the information, it will update for you. Thank you, Ms. Carpenter, for that. We're technically done with 6 building of courses. We've got some fast track courses we've got to build. So if you're a part of that, understand that some things are forthcoming for students, parents, and teachers as far as login, how to navigate Canvas, how to navigate Google Classroom, how to log into Gmail, how to log into Canvas or Rapid Identity, how to log into Google Classroom through the Gmail. So, and then we have some more courses coming for beginner teachers and things like that. So we're staying busy. But thank you for the shout out.
Miss Tina O'Clair, I just want to address your question and wondering why third grade is switching to Canvas. Third through 12th grade is geared towards the platform of Canvas based on the fact that they're all considered tested areas and it's a district decision. Um, your Canvas courses can be as user friendly as you choose to build them. So Google Classroom is shifted to pre-K through second grade. It's a great introductory for those students to be able to get used to remote or virtual or blended learning. Once third grade comes about, it's part of that tested crew for grades 3-12. Your 8-year-olds can do it. I promise you, they'll be able to. Just make it really user friendly, as you know how already. And because they already need to know their Power School number, everything is housed in the same spot. But as you have questions and concerns throughout this upcoming school year, you have our contact information. We are more than happy to help you. So please reach out. We are here. And that goes for everybody. If there's concerns, we are here. That's our whole purpose, is to help you make this successful.
Miss Jennifer, we can offer a comment to that to principals about moving, and I understand the importance of that, so they could go start building things this summer. The way stuff is a whirlwind right now with making decisions, I'm sure they're trying to do the best they can with what knowledge we have about what we're doing at this point. But I'm sure that they'll take that into consideration. But that is a good point.
If there's not any more questions, then we're going to close out for the day. Keep in mind that your last day for coursework is August 15th. If in fact you're looking to get CEU credit for this course, make sure that you print or email Myra Warricks at Staff Development to make sure your certificate is there once you've completed the course. And again, as you have questions, as you dabble through this course in the next few weeks, or if you've completed it, if you have questions moving forward, feel free and email the three of us. We are always available for you. We know that you're teaching our children day in and day out and trying to get geared up and ready for this upcoming school year. So feel free, you have our contact info, and just email as you need us. Otherwise, we'll see you hopefully in the next course. Next week and the weeks after, we'll be doing Google Drive and apps and communication tools. And we really just do hope that we see some of you back here again to dabble in something new. Hope you guys have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you, guys.